All right, guys, so some disclaimers before we start. I promise you it won't be death by power slides, so I'm not going to make you suffer looking at power slides for the next 30 minutes. And second, if you do suffer, we've got t-shirts, so we can give free t-shirts away, so that's always a good thing. So before we get started, just quick, who's from Germany here? Cool. Europe? Cool. Outside of Europe? One. Oh, sorry. Don't worry. We've got a few people outside of Europe there, so it's all good. So I'm going to give, I prefer, not. For me, my background has been modeling for God knows how many years, for Microsoft, doing some of their new tech as well as old tech, non-relational warehousing, so the whole shebang. So I'm not going to throw buzzwords at you. I'm just going to say it straight, exactly what we do, we don't do, and essentially our roadmap and how that looks. Does that sound nice to everybody? Yeah? Cool. So I'm a straight shooter. Sometimes it works in my favor, sometimes it doesn't, but hey. So what we're going to first do is going to cover what we want to cover off today. And those are three basic things. Number one, what we do and what we don't do. Number two, giving you a quick demonstration. Anyone use SAP B1 here? SAP B1? AX, Nav, Sage, Salesforce. People put our hands up for that. Okay, cool. So what we are as a solution is essentially a data management company. So our value proposition and what we do really, really well is the things that are in the dark green. Things in the dark green, especially on the lower part, is what we call our smart connectors. Everybody uses the term smart connectors, or we can connect to anything. So let me be very clear on what we mean by smart connectors. We can connect to any source, file, source type, whatever that is. But what ZAP does is reverse engineer a warehouse or a model. So it says, okay, what's that underlying table or underlying tables? And we're going to try and understand how we should reverse engineer a facts and dimensions based warehouse. So when I say facts and dimensions, we're not a non-relational or big data type of business. We're strictly relational warehousing, and we automate that type of build. We're very good at that. We're one of the best, there's no question on that. And hopefully today we can give you a little glimpse on how that's done. So with that as a prerequisite, we also have something called a UDL. It's a unified data layer. Again, a buzzword. I did promise I wouldn't use buzzwords. So let me be clear. Has any of you in your businesses got multiple ERPs or multiple CRMs? Yeah? So if you have, say, one ERP and you want to be able to say, well, I don't want to have one sales for one ERP and another sales tables for another, I just want to unify that into one. That's our key value proposition. So if you've got multiple ERPs, we unify that into one unified, and for the finance people on the floor, also a consolidated view as well. So things like eliminations and all that kind of stuff. The way we do that is via ZAP technology, and it's part of our UDL technology. So later on around 3 o'clock, we've got more of a technical view around that. I'm happy to kind of go into that a little bit more. However, what we do have within our business is what we call a smart solution. Our smart solutions are focused around saying to the customer, if you have this ERP like SAP B1, we know that system inside out. Doesn't matter what customizations you have. We know the structure of that system, so we can pull all the core tables in, as well as your customization modules, and then we can reverse engineer a transformed model. And then with that, with those smart solutions, we can then deploy Tableau workbooks, sales workbooks, finance workbooks, operations, procurement, production, and it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. So that's what we mean by smart solution. The product itself goes from basic ETL to very, very detailed ETL, things like whether it's simple DML, DDL statements, triggers, so all of it we cover within the product. And what's also important here is that we're not only on-premise as a solution, but we're also on cloud as well. So if any of you guys, we're a Microsoft shop in terms of our deployment. Let me get that out there right away, because if any of you are on AWS or whatever, we don't currently deploy on that, but we do deploy on Microsoft SQL Server on-premise. as well as Azure SQL services. So Azure Data Lakes or Azure SQL databases. Now with that, as the last piece is the security piece. For me, many projects that I've come in to kind of fix up have always kind of suffered around the security layer. So making sure, for argument's sake, if you have a sales department and you want all your sales managers to look at the same Tableau dashboard, but only have access to their data, we certainly take care of that problem, not via scripting or hacking around. It's done by dragging and dropping on our application. So we also take care of that problem. Finally, all our analytics are deployed on Tableau. They're role-based. So on the sales area, we have a VP sales, sales manager, sales rep, customer delivery manager. So we cover a variety. To give you an idea, for one ERP, we have around 60 dashboards that are all role-based. Dashboards, reports, etc., etc. So that's what you get out of the box using ZAP. We're a pretty simple solution dealing with really difficult problems. Anyone who's a modeler here will know already how much work just one ERP will take. So for us, we do a big job in a very, very small amount of time. So with that, to give you a quick idea, in terms of the sources that we can get, we've dealt with many different types of scenarios, but in this particular scenario, you've got an ERP or two ERPs and a CRM. We can squeeze it all together into one model, and you can have a universal person that can report across all departments, so from CRM to ERP, or have one finance person reporting on just one finance module, which has 3 or 4, however many ERPs unified together. Making sense? Yeah, pretty simple, right? So with that, the type of analytics you essentially get are the high level are CFO dashboards, VP sales dashboards, and production manager. And then we've got it hierarchical down to right down to a granular level. If you come to me and say, well, look, I don't really have any need for these dashboards, we view things in a different way, that's not really the point. The point is that we're trying to give you a head start to say, okay, maybe these are type of analytics that you've not been using within your ERPs or CRMs. We certainly take care of that, and then you can then further customize these workbooks. We're not trying to say to you, just use our model. There's no point of that, there's no value to that. What we're trying to say is, let's give you a head start, and once we've given you that head start, you can go on and further customize however you wish. That's the whole point of what we're trying to do here at ZAP. So with that, let's get rid of the noise. I know it's late. I know it's nearly the end of the conference, so I won't waste your times. All okay for me to jump into the product? All right, let's do this. If I mess this up, let me do some other disclaimers. I'll blame the internet or I'll blame the conference. Nothing to do with me and nothing to do with anyone else, just that. I think that's safe to say. No, I'm kidding. So I can be an idiot sometimes. All right, so from here, what we're going to do is, this is what you see is ZAP Data Hub is the application. So from here, you've got, it's browser-based, it sits on IIS as a kind of service. And from there, what we're doing is in designer mode, I'm building a model. As you can see from the tab, I'm building a new model. Below that, there's a gray process bar. So again and again and again, we say to customers, when you build your model, those are the only steps that you've got to do to essentially build your model. I'm going to try and do no smokes and mirrors here. I'm actually going to build a model right now in front of you guys so you can see if it's a phase 1 delivery that you guys want us to come and do, or a POC, this is exactly the same steps that you would be expecting. So in this case, I'm wondering, actually, let's do this. So from here, if I go into SAP B1, when I click on there, you've got a few features come up. You have our deploy and you have our connect. Do you guys remember in the beginning I told you about our smart connectors and our smart solution? Connect means those connectors. The smart solution means that I can deploy the whole solution for that and transform it. As you can see on there, you've got, okay, well, if you deploy this, we're going to deploy the finance module, manufacturing, sales, procurement, and inventory. The key modules that come from SAP. However, if you don't want to deploy it and just want to connect, you can connect, but that's all it does. Does that make sense? So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click onto deploy. I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to go straight into it. And then from here, again, look, as another disclaimer, we never tell customers that this is how quick it can be done. But realistically, the first deployment of your model is this amount of time. We can get a deployment model of SAP B1 done within an hour. But our delivery model is a little bit different. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So from here, if you're looking to buy from ZAP, or your customers, or you are a customer looking to buy from ZAP and Tableau, and you want it as a SaaS offering, then we offer a data gateway via the SaaS so you can connect to your network. And then from here, I've already got a data gateway set up on here because I don't remember the credentials off by heart, so I'm going to quickly copy it over. So from here, I'm just going to put my SLD in here. So it's SAP B1. Then I'm going to put my username and my password, make sure it's the right data type. So it's all the intricate details. Just if any of you guys are using Salesforce, you already know that in Salesforce you use your username, password, and your security key token. So that's a similar vibe, right? So that's the same type of thing. Let me just make sure. Oh, there we are. From here, I just simply select the underlying database. I hit test connection. And then from here, as you will see, when a tick comes up, on the bottom here, it will tell me what type of version of SAP I've just sat on. And that will be for all the solutions that we've got. Not necessarily the data smart connectors, but definitely for all the deployments, the smart solutions. So from here, when I click onto next, because it knows it's SAP B1, it knows it's multi-company. There's a number of different companies within SAP. So it said, okay, well, which companies do you want to pull in? So it's pulling in 2. And now I'm saying that the UK one is the primary company or holdings company. So that will configure into Tableau later on. When I click onto next, from here, this is where people don't like me using the word magic, but this is where ZAP technology kicks in. So from here, when I say here, look, I'm going to call this the Tableau data model. From here, I can decide where on the application I want to store the logical and conceptual view of my model. So from here, I'm just going to save it onto this public area here. From there, I can either have it on-premise or a cloud server. This is a cloud server connected to my Azure DB. And then from here, to deploy the analytics for Tableau, I've just simply selected Deploy Analytics. And then from here, these are all the tables. Anyone that's used SAP will recognize that these aren't the names that come from SAP. Why? Because we've transformed them to make them plain English, easy to understand. If you have a Dutch model, we can make it into, not Dutch, sorry, a German model, we can make it into German language. If it's a French model, we can make it into French language, etc., etc. And these are all the transformed names. So from here, what I'm going to do is hit Create Model, and then the creation starts, and that's it. So in every single first phase that we've done, I'm part of the the solution consulting team, as well as help the delivery team. Every single first engagement is this process here. This is done once. You don't need to do this again and again and again. This is done once and once only. And I've done it for every single POC and as well as first phase. If I open that up, these are all the different steps it needs to go through before it reaches import analytics. Import analytics is obviously importing my analytics onto the workbooks. And that's it. That's the process of building. The last one is calendars, but it's configuring the Tableau calendars so you can get physical calendars as well as generic calendars. So with that, while that's processing through, let me open that up. And let's have a look at what it looks like. You may see an error here or there because it's still processing. But what you've got here and what I've just opened up is what we call the administration mode of the model. Now from here, if I open up pipelines, you can see that we've got a Tableau section here to tell me where I want to, what site on Tableau server I want to be able to deploy on. However, if I click up to open to pipelines, have a look at this particular column. This particular column here is telling, you can see it's all refreshing because it's building for us right now. But these are the original names coming from SAP B1. And what we've done is worked with the R&D team from that side and said, okay, what are the core tables from that module and what are we expecting to be customizations? And what we've then done is built what we call a facts and dimensions model out of that. And from here you can see all the plain English models that we've got, the plain English transformations that we've got. So for argument's sake, let me go into, say, sales, and you can see all the different types of sales tables that we've got. And then from there, when it's built, you can see the transformations within those tables, so on and so forth. Why does it make that easy? Why can't we use the original table names? How many, especially if you've got a big user community, how many people are you going to have to train just so they can understand the underlying tables? Making it transform makes it plain English or plain German, whatever it is, to make sure that your users instantly understand what that model is trying to tell them on Tableau. And further to that, what's important is for the modeling people in this session, if you want to be able to say, okay, well, what's related to what? From here, if I go and say, okay, well, let's have a look at one table, the sales order table. What that's telling me now is that there's all the different relationships that occur against the relationships of the sales order table. So while it's deploying those relationships on Tableau. So you don't need to go into Tableau or Tableau Prep to go and do that work. It's doing it for you. If you disagree with some of these relationships, you can go in and change them. You don't have to keep to what we've given you. So that's what's going on behind the scenes. And those first three sections or subsections are essentially the build of the model. Everything below, all the subsections below, are all the kind of additional areas of the model that you want. First and foremost, if you want the ability to process the model on a daily basis, weekly basis, or even there's certain tables you want to process on a near real-time basis, the next section that I've just selected is the area to do that. So for argument's sake, we want to go and process my model. I'm going to scroll up to the top here, and I want to automate my model. From here, I don't need the cube because the Tableau deployment doesn't need the cube. It will directly go to the warehouse. From here, I want to then say I want to process all the pipelines, all the tables of my model. And then I want to schedule that on a daily basis outside of work hours. Once that's done, you have another requirement maybe from the sales team. The sales team say, look, our information is being updated literally every 10 minutes or whatever. So now we're going to go and start processing that Tableau model on a near real-time basis. So let's go and do that. So from here, I'm going to go and type in sales near real time. From here, we don't need the cube because we're connecting directly to the warehouse. And from here, I'm going to only select the tables that are related to the sales guys or the sales team. So from here, the sales orders, maybe the sales order rows might be processed. And in this time, I'm going to schedule that, but on an interval perspective. Now, I know that these sales people are coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning, leaving at 6. So I want to process that sub 1 minute, 1 minute, 5 minutes, whatever the requirement is. And then from there, I can start that at 8 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock when I know they've come and arrived. So you're managing resource all from ZAP as a kind of resourcing tool as well. So now what we've done is we've built an SAP B1 model. We've then done the automation of our model on a daily and a more real-time perspective. What I want to do next is start creating other things. So for instance, if I close this down, let me open up a model that's already built, just so while that's still processing. So from here, what we can do next is say, okay, well, we've done that. I want to then go and start creating new roles. So maybe a sales manager. and you want to start saying, well, that sales manager should only have access to certain tables or modules, and that's where we would essentially do that. The other important thing is essentially the calculation side. See all these calculations, 228, for SAP B1, these calculations actually don't exist. These are ones that we've created so you can use on Tableau. So for argument's sake, there will be calculations such as delivery. So from there, if I spell delivery properly. So if you go down here and see, we have full delivery, late delivery, on-time delivery, all calculations for sales and procurement that aren't as standard from these ERPs that we've created, because we know the systems, we know how they work, we know what essentially are what we call best-in-class analytics, and we've deployed them. So when you deploy on Tableau, these will then go onto Tableau. However, if you disagree with the changing of it, you can select it from here, but you'll get an error saying that you won't be able to change it. Or if you want to do all your calculations on ZAP, you can make those calculations on there, and then it will go and deploy them onto Tableau workbook. Does that make sense? So there's nothing fancy here. It's just basics, heavy lifting from a really heavy source and making it into a vibrant, quick data model that I can essentially create the following workbooks. So from here, I'm in my Tableau server, and this is where the deployment will essentially occur. So let's have a look at some of these dashboards. So let me just go into full screen. So from here, again, nothing too fancy, just straight to the point. Oh, let me just go out. From here, looking at the production manager dashboard. I've been playing around with this too much. There we are. So from here, this is the production manager dashboard. Nothing too fancy, just what you need on the page. So if you look at on-time delivery, quality, order fulfillment, again, calculations that may not come, aggregated calculations that don't come as a table, as a column within a table. It's a calculation, right? And that's what we deployed automatically onto Tableau Workbook. From there, this gives you a view later on actual cost per operation, quantity produced versus remaining, so on and so forth. I won't patronize anybody by going into that too much, but then this gives you an idea for sales, so I'm just waiting for that to load up. But you can get the idea, right? It's pre-built content ready for all modules within your particular SAP or whatever ERP instance. Let me just go over to the financial view so you can see that. Again, I'm blaming the internet this time, not me. Nothing to do with me. But it gives you an idea of what you get out of the box. So without wasting time, some of you guys who may be managers or users or developers will all have come through this problem where someone may say to you, okay, look, I need a dashboard, maybe a CFO or CEO or even a finance manager. And I say, okay, great, you want a dashboard? Or what do you want on there? And they'll always come back and say, well, I don't know, I just need a dashboard. So this kind of challenges their thinking process to say, look, these are pre-built dashboards. What do you need, what you don't need? And we can change that around quite quickly. So that gives you an idea of what we do and how quick we do it. Further to this, let me just quickly go into the slideshow because I won't take too much of your time now. With that deployment, does everyone make sense of how we work, right? I haven't shown you how we unify other systems and all that kind of stuff because that just takes a little bit more time than a quick demo, but I'll give you some ideas of what we do. So if a customer or you are a customer and you've got an ERP or CRM and you want something like this, delivery times, we're a software business, we're not a consultancy. So for us, we want the software to do the heavy lifting. So what we do is what we call a jump start, a phase one. And that's building the model that you just saw for your ERP and deployment of your Tableau workbooks. And for every single first phase, we do it in 40 hours. That's 5 days of work. 2 days is essentially the build, and the 3 days is the training. So we get you as the users or your communities, however many we can, to get trained on the product. So you can understand what you can or can't do, how you change the tables, how you change content on Tableau. So that's generically, and every single jumpstart that I've done in the business has been very successful. I've thoroughly enjoyed that model. What we're trying to do is automate the data management market. That's what we're doing. We're trying to get rid of the noise of people over-engineering how complicated relational modeling is. It's not complicated. And we're trying to simplify that with using this product. So with our jumpstart, so our phase ones, every single one is 40 hours in terms of delivery for one ERP. So if you've got 2 ERPs, that's an extra 40 hours, and the unification with that, to give you a generic idea. But what I've made today are some pretty big statements. They are some pretty big statements. So what we are offering is something for you to guys think about, I guess, is what we call a kind of proof of value, proof of concept. And then from this proof of value, proof of concept, what we essentially do is what I just showed you. First and foremost, we connect to your ERP. We then deploy all those pre-built analytics that you saw, including maybe a few customizations here and there, particularly around your financials, like SAP B1. You may have a chart of accounts that are outside of your ERP, and you want to customize those, so we can take care of that for you. All our POCs are delivered in 2 days. If you noticed, I told you 40 hours of work, 2 days is used to actually do the build. So the POC is actually the build. And then from there, all the POCs that I deliver and my team delivers are all mentored. So what you saw me today do, I actually don't do during the POC. We actually get you guys to do that, and we get you to drive the whole POC from start to finish. We actually don't touch the product. We're only there to be mentors. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to be around at 3 o'clock over in the booth over there. So if you guys only got any questions, feel free to ask. But you got t-shirts at the back, so feel free to grab whatever size you want. Hopefully that gave you an insight to who we are. Thank you, guys.